Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today our mission is, it's one of the most difficult we've taken on.
It really is.
We've been handed a precise stack of sources detailing a tragic event, a massive nightclub fire. But our analysis isn't really focused on the fire itself.
No, not the forensics of the fire.
We are tracing the immediate, profound ripple effect of this disaster on one specific family. We're looking at the scale of their loss and just the impossible logistics and trauma they're navigating back home in Delhi.
That's right. I mean, when you look at the raw data surrounding the fire at Birch by Romeo Lane in Goa, the scale is just horrific.
Yeah.
At least 25 lives claimed in the early hours of a Sunday morning, and 20 of those were club staff.
Right.
But the human cost, the thing that the sources really illuminate, comes from the 4 family members from Delhi who were among the casualties. Our focus is squarely on understanding that vacuum they've left behind.
And as we unpack this source material, a detail surfaces that just grounds the entire tragedy. It's a stunning moment of lost potential. For this specific group of victims, this trip to Goa, it was their very first time visiting.
Their first time. It was meant to be this joyful discovery, and instead it becomes an instant catastrophe for a really, a tightly woven family unit.
That context just amplifies the devastation.
It really does.
So let's start with identifying the victims from the Delhi family. We have 3 sisters, Anita, Kamla, and Saroj Joshi.
Okay.
The 4th person who perished was Vinod Kumar. He was the husband of a 4th sister, Bhavna Joshni.
And Bhavna is the key here. She's specifically named in the sources as the lone survivor of this group of 5.
The only one who made it out.
And what's immediately crucial here, for understanding the scale of the loss, is the intricate web connecting these individuals. This wasn't just a group of siblings.
No, it was much, much deeper.
It was a deep, interlocking family structure. Kamla, one of the deceased sisters, she was married to Naveen, a businessman. They had 2 children.
And if we follow that connection further, the other deceased family member, Vinod Kumar, that's Bhavna's husband, he was actually Naveen's brother.
That's the core of the devastation.
Exactly.
You have 2 sisters who married 2 brothers. So when this fire claimed 4 lives, it didn't just take 4 people. It wiped out the central pillars holding up 2 closely intertwined, intermarried families at the same time.
So both Kamla's household and Bhavna's household lost. I mean, they lost their adult members, except for Bhavna herself.
Exactly. And the sources, they reinforced just how close they were.
Right.
Vinod Kumar, who was also a businessman with 2 kids, he had joined his wife and the 3 sisters specifically to help them, navigate and explore Goa.
They had plans.
Yes.
The sources mentioned a road trip they were going to take. It was a shared adventure.
A shared adventure. And that just emphasizes the familial cohesion that was lost in a single night. The vacuum it's almost geometric. It leaves behind spouses, young children, and a surviving sister to face a crisis of, an unimaginable scale.
And that profound context makes the next part, the sequence of events of the fire itself, just so difficult to process.
It does.
We have testimony relayed by Harish Singh, who is a family friend and neighbor. He pieced it all together from what the sole survivor, Bhavna, told him.
And the source material, it suggests this horrifying twist of fate about the timing. This family was literally steps away from safety.
So close. Harish Singh relayed that the group had been at the club for a meal, and by the time the fire broke out, they were done. They were getting ready to leave.
Putting on their shoes, grabbing their coats, the party was over for them.
Yeah, they were ready to go home.
And this brings us to the core, tragic decision that defines this loss. As they were making their way out, one of the sisters, she got separated. Or stuck inside.
And what do the other 3 sisters and Vinod Kumar do?
They do what you hope they wouldn't, but know they would. That primal protective instinct kicks in. They pivot from safety and rush back into the chaos.
Save their kin.
And that split-second, selfless act cost all 4 of them their lives.
It's just gut-wrenching. And Bhavna's account, through the family friend, gives us a visceral picture of what was happening inside. She described a lot of chaos at the time of the fire.
Panic everywhere. She mentioned that some people were even stuck back in the kitchen area.
And this is where the story shifts from a sudden tragedy to highlighting a system failure.
Right. Bhavna specified the physical circumstances that trapped them. They tried desperately to come out, but they were blocked by the crowd.
Everyone was pushing each other.
And crucially, by the building itself. She explicitly stated there were no proper exits.
No proper exits. The lack of clear emergency exits, combined with, as she said, a lot of smoke, it just turns a dangerous situation into an inescapable death trap.
A physical bottleneck, the pushing, the panic. It means that even with the best intentions, you were neutralized. You couldn't get out.
And Bhavna's survival, from the way it's recounted, it sounds like sheer random chance.
Completely. She managed to get out only after someone pushed her from behind, and that push somehow cleared a path for her through the crowd.
It's a terrifying testament to how structural negligence can just determine life or death.
And while Bhavna escaped the fire, she was instantly plunged into the second wave of trauma, the immediate aftermath back in Delhi.
The sources detail this agonizing communication process.
You can just imagine the panic. The surviving family members, Naveen, the in-laws, they're just frantically calling the victims' numbers, hoping for anything.
And the calls just go unanswered.
Of course. The source material notes that agonizing wait was only broken much, much later when a policeman eventually called Naveen and confirmed the unimaginable.
And that call marks the switch, doesn't it? From the emotional chaos of the fire to the cold, crushing complexity of administration and logistics.
Absolutely. First, there's the challenge of identification.
Which immediately splits the family's grief into two distinct timelines.
Exactly. The bodies of Anita and Kamla were identified relatively quickly. That allows for their immediate preservation. But even then, the sources note they're pending inquest proceedings and post-mortem examination.
And can you just elaborate on what that actually means for a grieving family? It's not as simple as just getting your loved ones back.
No, not at all. The administrative layer of grief is profound. When a death is due to a disaster like this, the bodies immediately become, for lack of a better word, evidence.
I see.
An inquest, a post-mortem. These are legally required steps to determine the cause of death, confirm identity, and investigate any potential negligence. It forces an agonizing waiting period on the family. You can't even begin funeral rites until the state releases the bodies.
And that waiting period was significantly worse for the other two victims. The source material says the bodies of Saroj and Vinod Kumar were so completely charred that identification was tough.
Tough is an understatement. When identification is tough, it means the family is facing a sustained, torturous agony. Visual identification is out, you're waiting on DNA matching, forensic dental records.
Which takes time.
A lot of time, and it prolongs the administrative limbo for the surviving spouses and children who are forced to live in this state of confirmation limbo while trying to mourn for people.
This administrative nightmare brings us to what is maybe the most emotionally overwhelming burden that these survivors are now carrying back in Delhi.
The decision about their mother.
Their elderly, frail mother who lives in Karol Nagar.
And this is where that protective instinct we saw in the fire. It manifests again, but this time as a wrenching act of deception back home.
They haven't told her.
No. The sources confirm the mother has not been told about her daughter's deaths. Harish Singh, the friend, explicitly stated it's because of genuine concerns about her extremely fragile health.
He's quoted as saying, "Their mother's health is not well right now, so nobody has told her anything." The rationalization is just brutal in its clarity.
And the rationale is driven by the fear that the news itself could be fatal. Singh stated, "We all know she will not be able to hear all this."
Just think about the psychological weight of that. The surviving family members, especially Naveen, who lost his wife and his brother, are carrying the full scope of this tragedy while having to maintain this elaborate facade of normalcy for the mother.
It's an immense and immediate burden. The sources say only Naveen knows, and nobody is allowed to visit the mother right now.
Presumably to prevent any accidental slip-up.
Exactly. Any breakdown that might shatter the pretense. So they have to grieve silently, externally, while managing this monumental secret internally. It's a bifurcated reality.
So on one hand, they're dealing with funeral arrangements for two, the forensic wait for the other two, the children's grief.
All while strategically protecting the most vulnerable member of their family through this complex act of non-disclosure.
And while the family is paralyzed by this, the community around them seems to be rallying.
It does. Harish Singh and the other neighbors, they noted that they are actively helping the family manage the crisis.
Which is that crucial, practical support logistics, food, caring for the children.
Exactly. It's what communities do when the central figures of a household are completely incapacitated by grief.
We also see local officials trying to help. Nita Bisht, the area counselor, is trying to reach out. But even in her attempts, you see the scale of the paralysis. She reports finding everyone just too traumatized to engage.
They can't even accept help yet. It highlights how quickly a joyful event, that first trip to Goa, can just rip the central fabric out of a community.
4 core members gone.
Gone. And these sources provide a detailed, devastating snapshot of the immediate paralysis that just ripples through the family, the administration, and the neighborhood.
So what does this detailed stack of sources offer us, the listener, beyond the sheer emotional scope of the tragedy?
I think we get a profound insight into how trauma layers itself instantly.
How so?
Well, it starts with the structural failure of the building. That's layer one. It's immediately followed by the emotional devastation of that selfless act of rushing back in. And then it transitions into the cold, clinical, prolonged pain of administrative red tape and secrecy.
The key takeaway, then, is the incredible depth of loss, but confined to this one single geometric family structure.
Exactly. You see the administrative challenges, the inquests, the identification delays, and then you see the ultimate impossible emotional challenge for the survivors who have to find a way forward while holding this life-altering secret from their own mother.
And this brings us to a final provocative thought. Building on what we've learned here, the four victims rushed back into that fire in an ultimate selfless protective act.
Yes.
Now, the surviving family members are engaged in a different kind of protective act, this necessary deception to shield their mother. So what does this deep dive into immediate selfless action and then prolonged agonizing secrecy? What does that tell us about the protective instincts that are revealed in moments of ultimate chaos? And how do those instincts continue to shape the impossible future for those who are left behind?
A heavy question to end on.
It is. That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.